It's been a while since I've done some videos, so I thought I'd better make up some more. I've got a little guest appearance here with Reggie on my shoulder. But anyway, I thought we'd have a look at some decimals and how to add and subtract some decimals. So, when adding and subtracting decimals without a calculator, it's often easier to set up as an algorithm first. So when you set it up as an algorithm, make sure everything lines up. So make sure your decimal points line up and that the whole numbers line up and your decimal places line up as well. Sometimes there'll be some missing digits, so it might be easier to put in some zeros in those missing spaces as we go along. So once we've done that, we can then go and add and subtract depending on the particular question that we are actually doing. So let's have a look at an example. So let's evaluate the following: 3.14 plus 0.72. So write it as an algorithm. So here we go, 3.14 plus 0.72, making sure that everything aligns. So not like that, because it doesn't align up. We don't have our decimal points lined up, and we don't have our whole numbers, etc., or our tenths, or not like this either. So make sure that we've got everything lining up as we need to. So make sure it's just like this, whole numbers line up, decimal points line up, our tenths, our hundredths, etc. Once we've got that, then we can now start to complete it. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Then we can go our 1 plus 7, gives us our 8. Put our decimal points in. And then our 3 plus 0 is 3. And we get 3.86. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's have a look at another example here. Example 2. So now we've got 3.87 plus 25.6. Again, we want to set it up as an algorithm so that everything lines up. So there's our ones column, our decimal points, our tenths, our hundredths, and we've also got our tens over here. But you'll notice that there's some gaps in here, so we're going to fill those gaps up with some zeros. So once we put our zeros in, we can then just add. So 7 plus 0 is 7, 8 plus 6 is 14, so put down the 4, and we're going to make our 1 carry up here, and I like to put it up above, and put our decimal point in so that we've got our decimal points lining up. And then we can go 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9, and then 0 plus 2 is 2. So we got 29.47 is our answer. So let's have a look at a third example. Here we've got a few more that we're adding this time. So 8.5 plus 312.64 and 0.96. So again, set up our algorithm so that we have our decimal points lining up, our whole numbers, our tenths, our hundreds, etc. Then put in our zeros in any of the gaps just to make things a bit easier so we don't miss anything. And then we can start to add. So 0, 4 and 6 is 10, so put down our 0. And we're going to carry our 1, and I like to place it up there. Now 1 and 5 is 6, and 6 is 12, and 9 is 21, so put down the 1 and carry my 2. And then we're going to put in our decimal points, so our decimal points line up. Some people do like to put the decimal point in at the beginning, and that's fine too. Now let's continue. 2 and 8 is 10, and 2 is 12, and 0 is still 12. Put down the 2, carry the 1. 1, 0, 1, 0 is 2, and then 0, 3, and 0 is 3, so we get 322.10. Okay, do we need to have that 0 though on the end? So normally we don't, so we can take that 0 off, but sometimes we're asked to round numbers off to 2 decimal places or 3 decimal places, etc. So if this was meant to be rounded off to 2 decimal places, then yes, we need that that 0 there after the decimal point. So just be aware that zeros, we don't normally have them on the end unless we are asked to have 2 decimal places, or also if it's got to do something with money, dollars and cents. Alright, so our final answer, 322.1 is the most correct answer. Okay, so let's have a look at another example, this time a subtraction question. 27.5 minus 2.68. So again, write it as an algorithm, making sure everything lines up. Put in our zeros. Now when we do our subtraction, this time we've got to do a little bit of borrowing because 0 take away 8 we can't do. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow from the 5. So I've crossed that out, and that's now going to have a value of 4. And the one that I borrow from then, I'm going to bring over to the 0 here and make that a 10. Okay, so that's 10 and that's 4. Now that we've got that as 10, we can do our subtraction. 10 minus 8 is 2. 4 take away 6. Again, we can't do that at this point in time, so I'm going to have to borrow from this 7. Right, so once we borrow from that 7, cross that out, becomes a 6. And that one that I've borrowed from that 7 is going to come over here with the 4, and that's going to be a 14. So now we can do our 14 take away 6, gives us our 8. We can put our decimal point in so it lines up. 6 take away 2, and then our 2 take away 0. And we've just completed our subtraction there. So 27.5 minus 2.68 gives us our 24.82. So let's have a look at another example. In this case, the decimals have got to do with money. So $27 minus $5.58. So set up our algorithm. Now $27 doesn't have a decimal point in there. Well, it does, but it's just not visible. It's at the end there. So let's go and put in our decimal point and add in some zeros in the spaces. And I suppose I could have added a 0 in here as well. And let's do some borrowing. 0 take away 8 I can't do, but I can't borrow from the 0. So I'm going to borrow from this 7 and make that a 6. This now becomes a 10. So now that I've got this as a 10, I can now borrow from that 10 over for here. So borrow from that 10 comes 9. The one I've borrowed from that comes over here, so there's a 10. So just be careful when we're doing those ones. And 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. Decimal point. 6 minus 5 is our 1. And our 2 minus 0 is 2. So $27 minus $5.58 is $21.42. So now that I've shown you how to add and subtract with decimals, what you now need to do is to practice, practice, and practice again. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes. So I hope you found this video useful, and Reggie, with his bit of a guest appearance here, has just made sure that we've got the answers right as we've gone along. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you.